Congressman Dennis Kucinich with us for this segment and the next. Report up on JonesReport.com. Kucinich promises hearing on 9/11 health. He promised earlier last year to meet with 9/11 responders. He went there and had lengthy meetings with them. You can see the video up on JonesReport.com. We Are Change videotaped that. We appreciate that. And he's come out and, it's been admitted that the White House covered up politically, that it was deadly poison, all of the mercury and the lead and the concrete, and they're dying right now. Congressman, thank you for coming on with us.
Thank you very much. Good to be with you.
Congressman, in a nutshell, from your investigation, I know you're just now getting deep into it, what happened on 9/11 with the pulverized concrete? Why was it covered up, and what are you calling for?
Well, we know that now that there were environmental consequences for all the workers who survived, and I went to New York City to meet with 9/11 workers. One of them had come up to me at a presidential debate, and he was a gentleman who was obviously in great distress physically and emotionally, and he had asked me would I come to New York City and hear what people had to say. So I did that, and we met in the church near Ground Zero and had a 2-hour meeting where dozens of people had an opportunity to be in the meeting, and many participated in explaining the health effects that they had as a result of the work they did during 9/11, and that the kind of help that they had expected and was being promised that didn't materialize. So I took a lot of notes, and then from there we're going to I'll be greeting the 9/11 workers who are coming to Washington, I believe next week, who are going to be presenting their case to the media. And then with them, I'm going to set a date up for a hearing so that we can give them an opportunity to share with the nation what the health effects of their service has been, and how there needs to be serious attention to making sure that they get the care they need, and how they were basically ignored for a long time.
With this case, it's so cut and dry. We know that we have the memos where Christina Todd Whitman, the head of the EPA, went to Bush a few days in and said this is deadly dust. She was basically ordered politically to say it was safe and open things up. Giuliani did that. But then even worse, afterwards, they blocked good treatment, real treatment for people, told them they weren't sick. It didn't matter of different universities and medical institutions. 3 years ago, put out CAT scans showing their lungs filled with this debris. And then now, 6+ years later, most of them aren't even getting aid. Billions of dollars was raised by different charities, and they've just been forgotten about. I mean, Bush was happy to stand on the pile and grandstand and, look like a hero with the real heroes. I mean, that's even more despicable, to use them and then not even help them.
Well, I have to tell you, when I went there and met with people, it's one thing to hear about it in the abstract. It's another thing to go and talk to people who were there and who, since that time, have experienced multiple tumors, extreme respiratory distress, a whole range of medical problems that would be necessarily associated with, ingesting or inhaling large amounts of pulverized metals and concrete, and it's very heartbreaking. And so, because someone came up to me and said, "Please help," and the man was crying. I had to respond, and that's why I went to New York City to respond. My heart was open, and I heard what people had to say, and I'm going to be with them in Washington, and we are going to schedule a meeting in front of the Domestic Policy Subcommittee so people can tell their stories, and we can keep the light focused on this critical public health concern, but it's also a concern about do we really honor those who served on that day if they can't get the care that they need and the long-term care that they need for when they put their lives on the line. You think about that. People put their lives on the line as part of the safety forces in 9/11, and now who's going to fight for them? So that's why I'm going to do everything I can to be of assistance to them and make my committee available to them.
Well, we commend you for that, Congressman. We're very thankful, and people should support you in your efforts. obviously the biggest issue is getting them the medical care that they need and deserve, but secondarily, it's justice needs to be done. Your response to the news, I mean, even New York papers have admitted there was a cover-up of the dust. I think people need to go to prison for that cover-up.
We'll get to the bottom of that. We'll get to the bottom of that. I'll seek all the relevant information and correspondence to be able to bring it to the committee's attention. That's not going to go unchallenged.
Let's talk more about the timeline here, meeting with him next week, when we could see hearings with Dennis Kucinich. People, we've been calling for this for years. He's doing it. We'll be right back.
We took a little trip along with Colonel Jackson down the mighty Mississippi. We took a little bacon and we took a little beans, and we caught the bloody British in a town in New Orleans.
Welcome back.
Fired our guns and the British kept
Congressman Dennis Kucinich, whose district centers in and around Cleveland, Ohio. I know we have 2 affiliates that go into Cleveland, 3 stations in the fine state of Ohio, and we're very, very thankful for those stations. I have a strong presence for this show in Ohio. And the congressman was just telling me during the break he is in a fight of his life for his seat. So is Ron Paul, because they spoke out against the war. Even if you don't agree with Ron Paul on every issue, you need to support him for truly trying to bring change, not fake Barack Obama change. We need to thank Dennis Kucinich, even if we don't agree with him on every issue. I disagree with him on gun control. I agree with him on almost every other issue. He is definitely a maverick and not in their hip pocket. That's why we've got to support him and keep them from taking him out. So we're going to talk about that in just a moment, because he just alerted me to how dire his straits are right now. But finishing up with the 9/11 responders, yeah, you're not going to be in Congress to have those hearings if we don't do some fighting. But continuing, sir, you took time out of your busy campaign schedule and Congress schedule to go to New York. You're meeting with them again next week. You're having a press conference. What do we need to do to support a real investigation? Because I believe this can open the whole thing up. You've also called for an investigation of the bizarre insider trading on 9/11. Can you speak a little bit more about the dust and where that's going, and then your questions about the insider trading?
First of all, I'm not afraid to ask questions about 9/11, and I think that when we look at how the workers have had this adverse effect from what they breathed in, I want to make sure that they have a forum in Cleveland, or in Washington rather, and that they, and I'll be with them next week. But in addition to that, I want to plan with the affected workers and their representatives a hearing in Washington where they can come to the committee and explain to the nation what's been happening. I'm chairman of the Domestic Policy Subcommittee, and and I want to bring them in front of the committee. It's a committee that has a very broad jurisdiction, and it's an investigative subcommittee. I want to bring them in front of the committee, and I also want to get the details about what officials knew and when they knew it about the environmental hazards that were contained in what Christine Todd Whitman called deadly dust. Now, on the other issue that you asked about, Alex, I have indicated a longstanding interest in gathering information and trying to get to the bottom of exactly what happened with respect to all the stock activity that took place preceding 9/11. There were people who, and I think we need to talk to the people who were involved in making those transactions in order to try to figure out why they were made. There were, for example, the American Airlines and United Airlines stock. Those are things that we need to look at and just get some questions answered.
Record put options. Again, we're talking to Congressman from Ohio, Dennis Kucinich, running right now in the primary, needs your support. Now, please continue finishing up with the bizarre insider trading, the put options.
Yeah, so, that's something that caught my attention and that I've continued to talk to people about. At some point, those who may have a strong background in that, I'd like to hear from them if they call my Washington office, if they have any insight as to how to approach it. But I can tell you that from my own personal standpoint, I have had long-standing questions about why this volume, why those airlines, why that time who made the buys? Why did they buy them? Who told them to make the buys? Who was involved? I mean, there's questions there that need to be answered as part of an effort to just get to the truth.